This is left side of the brain. This is part 2. We were speaking about the elements and continuing where we left off. By the way, hit the likes button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get right into part 2. We were speaking about fear being a response to all of the negative things inside of you, unresolved issues that's inside of yourself. That's where fear comes from. Fear comes from ignorance, basically. Because if you knew what it was about the thing that you was fearing, you wouldn't have anything to fear. That's where fear comes from. Okay. And again, we spoke about in part 1 how the light exposed you to a lot of the things that you fear. Light gave birth to sin, vanity, and everything else that we, work to fight against in the fallen state. Light gave birth to that. But another thing that light gave birth to was not only light, but the body itself. The body itself is comprised of all of the elements: the earth, the water. We breathe the air, which gives us consciousness. The body is a representation of everything, all of the elements. Okay. Now, before the body state, we existed in darkness. And during that darkness state, we had no ego. Okay. I'm just kind of going back over some things that I said in part 1. Now, in our physical bodies, we basically are masturbating. Why do I say that? Because we experiencing everything, all of the elements in the body. Let me give you an example. Before we was in the body, we were just conscious. We don't even remember that time because memory comes from ego. Again, you don't have an ego, you don't have anything to remember. The body is connected to ego. Okay? Now in the body, you experience things. You experience all the elements. For instance, the temperature of water. You're masturbating. You're feeling it. You're feeling yourself. The water is feeling itself through you, the person in the body. You're feeling the temperature of the water. It's cold. It's hot. Okay? You're tasting the elements, the earth, what comes out of the earth. You're tasting the food. You're tasting the bitter. You're tasting the sweet. The body is just basically sex, fornication that takes place within the elements. The elements feeling itself. You feel the air blow against your face when you're driving in your car with the windows down. That you feel the air blowing through your hair. You feel the raindrops. You can taste the food. You have taste buds. You experiencing the sweet taste of honey. You experiencing the smell of the flowers during the springtime. All of this is a form of mental sex, mental and spiritual sex. Okay? Mental the mental and physical together, that's what spiritual is. It's a combination of mental, having sex, with physical. That's what spiritual is. So just by you smelling something, that's a mental sense of smell connected to your mental brain. That's the physical going into the mental compartments of smell, taste, touch, hear, see. That's what spiritual is. So do you Jaguars get what I'm saying? Your body is sex with the elements. Basically what I'm saying. Your body is sex with the elements. And this is just a experience that you were not supposed to get trapped into. You were supposed to remember and rescue yourself from it. Because again, the senses, the body, all of this is things that occurred after the great falling away, when the ego self was created. The ego is the part of you that wants to discover, wants to see things, want to go different places, want to do all of this, want to get married, want to have kids, want to become something in life, want to leave a legacy, want to build homes, want to travel, want to cross bridges, want to break world records, want the most beautiful woman. All of that things like that is connected to your ego self. That self that light gave birth to. Vanity, light, sin. Because before that time, none of that mattered to you. It was just air, darkness, no light, no need for any of that. Peace. But when you started having sex with the elements, that's when all the ego gave rise to aspirations and goals and, you know, having dreams. Because there's really only one dream that anybody should have. To be like water. Water don't have an ego. To be like water. Truth. Water represents truth. The right understanding to heaven. In this world, water is the closest thing to darkness. Except water can be manipulated. But you can't have artificial darkness. You can't have artificial water, but you can manipulate water. You can't have artificial darkness, but you can't manipulate darkness. You can turn lights on, but you can't manipulate the darkness. That's why I say that water is the closest thing to darkness in this world. This represents spirit, basically, in a condensed form. So if someone give you a gift of water, they didn't give you a cheap gift. They gave you something worth more than a Rolls Royce. They gave you something, because what good is a Rolls Royce or a Rolex watch in the middle of the desert? What good is a 40,000 bottle of wine in the middle of the desert? Or jewelry in the middle of the desert? So this, my friend, is that truth that you can't live without. That water. So if I give you a bottle of water, I gave you more than $1 million. So it represents truth, which is priceless. Water is priceless. You can't put a price on this. Just like wisdom. Because it's worth more than the thing that you're trying to purchase it with. That's why money don't even make sense. You giving me some paper dollars to buy something that's priceless? No, I should be paying you for water. Everything we buy in this world, we should buy it with water. Because you can't live without this. You see how backwards this world is? They got you purchasing water with paper. You can live without paper. You can't live without water. This should be the money right here. They say paper, they say money is backed up by gold. Money should be backed up by barrels of water. You see how backwards this world is? Yeah. What I'm saying is, your physical body is just an expression of everything, of all of the elements. And I haven't forgot about fire. I'm just saving that. I haven't forgot about fire. Your physical body is the expression of all of the elements. All of the elements together at one time is all the medicine that you will ever need. I'm going to tell you why. Let me give you an example. The beach. You probably never thought about this. When you go to the beach, you're really going back to that state of darkness. I'm going to tell you why. Before everything fell apart. Because the beach is earth. You land on the sand, sunlight, and water. That's therapy. That's medicine. That's health. That vacation to the beach, that's sunlight. You can't live without sunlight. Water. And air. You're out there on the beach. You got all of the elements out there. You got the seashells. You got the sand. You got the water. You got the air. All of the elements out there. And you just sitting out there. That's the perfect therapy. And your body just sitting out there, just absorbing it. It's healing in the beach. That's why people go to the beach. Because it's the highest example of this body that we live in. It's the highest example of this body being able to communicate with all of the elements at one setting. You see the water, the breeze, the air, clean air, the sunlight, the sand, all of that. And your body just taking it all in. Because what did I say? This body is fornication with the elements fornicating with itself. One element can't live without the other element. Fornication in the body. You can't live without water. You can't live without iron, magnesium, all of the minerals in the earth. They fornicate with themselves in your body. That's why when you have certain mineral deficiencies, you become sick. Because your body is a state of expression, connection, communication. You see? And dependency. See, it's good and bad and ugly to all of this. There's beauty in it, but also after the time of the great falling away, we fell into the age of dependency. That's the age we live in now. The age of dependency, when we became like a baby. As soon as a baby is born, it was born into a world of dependency. It needed a mother to feed it. You see, the age of dependency. Now, instead of all of the elements being one, we need water. I gotta go drink. I need a drink of water. That's because the elements were separated. Male and female were separated. So if male and female were separated, you feel like you need a female. You feel like you need a man. So when you were separated, like after the time of the great falling away, you feel like you need all of these things. And some of these things you do need because you are living in a body. So you need water, you need sunlight, but there was a time when darkness just existed. When we was in that state before the time of the great falling away, you didn't need sunlight. You was the light unseparated. You was the air. Light, air was just moving through darkness. You was, the sunlight was the darkness. There was nothing to see. Everything was just perfect. There was no flaws. There was no flaws in darkness. You only see flaws in the light. Ego makes us say there's a flaw over there. Because ego compares and contrasts things. Ego separates the state of one and unity and turns it into good and evil, good versus evil. All of these things came about after the time of the great falling away. All of these categories and subcategories, all of these things came about in the light age, the age of dependency that we now live in. You see? But in that state of darkness, it was the state of one, completion. Right now, we are incomplete. Hopefully this information will help reemerge completeness. Because we were never supposed to fall victim in the myriad world around us. The world of colors, sights, sounds. All of those things are good to experience. Don't get me wrong. But to be entrapped in it, that's the human prison bar system. To operate outside of knowing the truth, the absolute truth. This world system takes you away from absolute truth. Absolute means complete, that complete state. Going back to the darkness. You see, this world is totally adverse to the original state. That was the danger of Eve eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because what it did, it opened man up to an illusion world. And God knew that man would fall further and further and further into that state, which we do. And this can get very complex. That can be another subject. I could go into people saying God said for man to be fruitful and to multiply. I can go into all of that, but I'm not. That can be something else. If you want me to go into that, put a 1 in the comment section. But right now, and on this video, I'm gonna keep it on the series that we're dealing with, because that can open up a whole nother can of fish, and that's for another video. But if you want me to elaborate on that further, put 1s in the comment section. But I'm just keeping it, you know, on point. When she ate the apple, the metaphorical apple, it opened her up to the light, sin, being able to see. Before she bit into the apple, she didn't have an ego. When she bit into the apple, that's when ego came. The apple represents the light, the sin world. I'm going to tell y'all something you didn't know. True light is darkness. True light is darkness. Lights that you see, they can be bent. They can be manipulated. All type of optical illusions. But true light is darkness. You can't do nothing to it. You can't change it. We say truth is immutable. It's unchangeable. You can't change the dark. You can't perfect it. You can't do nothing to it. You can't turn it up. You can't turn it down. It is what it is. Agree? It's perfect. It's all together. You see? And let's talk about the fire now. You might say, well, what does this fire come about? Fire is in the gaseous state of air. See, fire doesn't need wood to burn. That's a misconception. Fire was there during the time before the great falling away. Fire lives in the gas. Fire comes about from friction of gases. Then you get a combustion. That's where the fire comes from. I'm going to tell you something about fire. Fire is the visible air of the air. What you talking about, left side of the brain? That don't make sense. Let me explain it. If you blow your breath on a glass, you'll see the mirror fog up. Okay? Fire is the inner oxygen of the darkness. It's the breath of life out of the nothingness. It looks like fire. It is fire. How come you think fire just, if I flick a match, it just burns? It's the oxygen of the air that you breathe. It's fire. That's why when a baby first comes into this world and it inhales, you know what actually that baby feels? It feels a burst of flames in its blood. And it feels like its whole body is on fire. The first time a baby inhales, that's why they cry. When that oxygen goes into its nostrils for the first time and it goes all throughout its body, that baby say, ah, it starts screaming and yelling because it's in pain. Its lungs, for the first time, that body of a baby, it reaches the temperature of 98.6. It bursts into a flame. It spontaneously combusts upon its first inhale. Inhale. You get it? Inhale. Break the word down. And yes, that's what the fire lives in the darkness. You see? And the fire is also the voice of God. You don't believe me, do you? That's why in the Bible, God spoke out of what? When Moses was there, what does it tell you? The burning bush, the fire. That's the voice. That's that voice that's inside of the oxygen. What you think happens when they split an atom? What comes out of it? Fire. So that's why I say that when this thing ends, everything that's not spiritual, that's not supposed to be here, is going to burn up. Because the only thing that's supposed to be here is the air and the darkness. And once the fire burns up everything will go back to darkness. Because anything that's not spiritual, anything that causes vanity, anything that causes you to fight and strife and have enmity between each other, it burns up. But what is burning up doesn't burn up. It's doing the burning up. Because what's burning everything that don't supposed to be here, everything materialistic, is God. Fire is God. And when he's finished getting rid of everything and burning everything up, the fire, it's not burning anything and everything just goes back to darkness. You get it? That's why nothing can defeat fire. Nothing. Nothing can defeat fire. Because fire, it can boil water. It can evaporate water. It ain't enough water in the world to put out a fire if a comet or an asteroid hit this earth. This whole entire world would just blow up, incinerate the oceans and everything. Fire is all consuming. And it will have the final say. And that's why I save fire for last. Because it will have the final say. That's why I save the fire element for last. It's a science behind everything that I do. And notice, what do we call it? Elements. Dealing with the El, the Elohim, the God. El. These words are not here by accident. It's a purpose. That's why they call it the element. Because you're talking about the body of God. The elements is the body of God in different forms and stages. Like I said, the ice cube represents the whole process from the falling away state to the before the falling away state to the liquid state. And fire being the last state. And it only comes about when the friction in the atmosphere occurs. Which brings about that judgment. That strife represents friction. The strife between you and your brother, different races, mother against daughter, all of this bring about that strife. And this is what causes that fire to combust. And after it's done destroying everything, everything goes back to darkness. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Left Side of the Brain. Hit the likes button. Hit the likes button. Let me know what you thought. Leave your comments in the comment section. Any questions you might have. And Jaguars, some of the elders and some of the regulars, start handling some of those questions in the comment section. I can't answer all the questions. I'm not going to try to answer everybody. Sometimes during the day, I try to get to as many people as I can. Then I thought about it. I said, well, all of these regulars out here and some of these people I see, who be leaving paragraphs, I'll be like, they have been on this channel long enough. You know the terminology. Answer some of these questions. You know some of the new people. I shouldn't have to do everything. This is a team. This is a collective. The collection of the soul. A collection of information is a soul. And you all have enough collection of information. We got to help each other out. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll leave all of the information in the subscription box. You can donate, add us on Instagram. Until we meet again, this is Left Side of the Brain, signing out.